Hi, welcome to Frank and Angie's Retire Earlier and Better at Home or Abroad, whichever suits you best. So we're going to talk about our budget as nomads. Now, we're not known as nomads, we're known as homestead, stationary home, and a little bit of side travel. But lately we've been becoming a little bit more nomadic, and we're starting to notice the costs. Let's talk about the costs. There are fixed costs and there are variable costs. The fixed costs are things like, they're going to be the same. You know, whether you're nomading or whether you're stationary, you're still going to have certain costs like I got bonnage, phone costs, I've got Skype phone costs and things like that. So let's start with rent. So just to be clear about our nomadic journey, we have been coming from Ecuador to Italy, then to Malta, then to Georgia, then Armenia, and now we're on our way to Bulgaria. And after that, it could be Italy, it could be somewhere in Europe. So yeah, we've got quite the itinerary there for us, you know. And so with the rent we have so far, it's been around $350 to $500. I do want to say, because there are a lot of budgets online on YouTube and everywhere on videos, we've noticed that there are two kinds of budgets. One is for the spender, a type of person that isn't really making an effort. And there's no judgments here. This is just a description. And so there's the spender. They don't look at prices when they put food in the cart when they go shopping. They just pay whatever the Airbnb prices are or hotels. And there's no effort made to, you know, be industrious about the pricing. And perhaps there is a little bit of effort made, but it's just so superficial it doesn't really make a change in how much people are. In other words, they're still going to spend too much. And then there's the value seeker. So we fit into the value seeker category. Now I want to clarify that by value seeker, we don't mean being a penny pinching, just grappling, scraping, you know, just bottom of the barrel kind of, you know, you don't see us staying in very minimalistic studios, which they're out there. Once in a while we get stuck in one for a very short time, but you know, 98% of the time we're looking for the best money can buy, the best value. So what we're doing is we're doing the same thing or similar thing as a spender is doing, or close to it, but we're doing it on a lot less money. So just wanted to be clear, we're not talking about lowering our standard of living in any way.
Well, for an example, I took some photos of the apartment. This one that we're in here in Armenia, and we'll show it to you. It's a one bedroom.
Yeah. And this one falls in the middle. So we said $350 to $500, and this one's like on a monthly basis about $400, $420, somewhere in there. And that includes all utilities and everything. So, okay. So I just want to show you the apartment that we have for $100 a week. It is centrally located in the city. It's got its own separate bedroom right here. Nice big windows. It's nice and bright. It does have a door separating the bedroom from the living room. There's a whole living room, complete with wife, and it's got its own doors to the kitchen. This is the dining area. It's separate. You see, you've got the archway into the kitchen. So you've got separate rooms. So it feels like an apartment instead of a, you know, oppressive efficiency where everything's minimalist. And so you got 4 burners there. You know, 2 basins on the sink, micro.
We don't like minimalism.
Let's see, and then it even has, let's take a look at the bathroom real quick. It's got a capsule shower, and I love these towel warmers. You just put the towels on them and it just dries them out. Closets, everything. And then you've got food. Our food budget includes eating out. So because we like to make home-cooked meals and we like tasty, fresh food and vegetables cooked at home, most of the time we eat in. But we do eat out 2 to 3 times a week. So the eating out part's about $80 to $100 a month. Our grocery shopping is usually around $250 generally. So you're looking at around $350. I was generous putting it in at $400. We're not scrimping on our food cost. I mean, we whatever we want. You know, that means that we eat chicken breast. Sometimes we have red meat, but we're just not red meat eaters as a lifestyle. Once in a while, I'll have a salmon steak. I like to have a salmon steak once in a while, yeah.
We don't smoke or drink, so that
we don't smoke or drink.
Takes the...
Like the transportation, I was saying lifestyle is meaning that we actually enjoy being physical. It does bakes two cakes with one go by helping us stay healthy, walking, breathing fresh air. It actually also fulfills our wandering lust where we're walking and observing and seeing.
You get to see so much more when you're walking. You don't miss out on anything. And
you really get to know the area. I mean, if you walked it, you're going to remember that street rather than if you just flew through it in the taxi. We walk till we drop. I mean, we walk 3 to 4 hours until we start dropping. So
sometimes longer than that.
Sometimes longer, but not. Okay, so our transportation is low because of that. So we're on metros. We're on and off metros all the time, though. And we love taking metros because they're so quick. They're not so cumbersome like a bus. And so we really do prefer metros to busing. We haven't done very much busing at all.
No, we haven't had to. Georgia has a really good metro system.
Well, Yerevan's got a metro, but Bulgaria's got a metro.
Malta, we walked everywhere except for when we went to Gozov. So
we haven't really taken any buses in any of these places. The only bus we took was from the airport in Georgia to the center, and we took a bus. All right, so that comes down to around $30 to $50 a month. That does include the occasional, very rare taxi. All right, so the other category here is miscellaneous, which kind of surprised me, but what happened is my battery went out on my cell phone. I had to replace it. It was like $13. And then my cell phone charging cable broke. That was another $13. I got a special one that charges the phone a lot faster, and I love the thing.
I had to buy a new backpack.
And you had to buy a new backpack.
$23.
Yeah, so it's like miscellaneous. There's always something. Well, like our SD card's malfunctioning, so we may have to buy another SD card. Yeah, so so yeah, there's always something. You know, shoelaces.
So make sure that you leave a little extra for that miscellaneous.
So when we add up all these variable costs, it comes down to $13.75 a month. What does that sound like to you?
That sounds really amazing. That's what it sounds like.
Well, what it does for me is it reminds me that that's about the figure we were spending when we were living stationary in Salinas, Ecuador. Yeah, so for the same amount that we were living in Salinas, Ecuador for, we're being nomads around Europe, Eastern Europe, and any place close by that you can get a good deal on airfare. So, but on top of these variable costs, there are also some fixed expenses that are always there, whether we're nomading or staying stationary. Like, for example, we have a Vonage phone line and we have a Skype phone line that we pay for every month, or any other banking fees that you might have, are always going to be there regardless. All right, so the spender and the value seeker, they're two different ways of doing things. And we've seen people in the spender category, like one single woman spending $30,000 a year for nomading, which, we've also seen a newly minted fire couple spending $50,000 a year for travel. So it just depends on where you're at on the highway of your life, of your fire journey. So the difference between the spender and the value seeker is a lot of the newly minted fires and a lot of newly minted nomads look at house sitting as a solution to, they get alarmed first off at how much they're spending. It's more than they thought they would spend. And in the long run, it's potentially not sustainable. So they jump into house sitting and not realizing that there's a big difference house sitting when you're stationary and going on a vacation, and when you're house sitting, when you're constantly on the move, whether you're slow travel or not, you really don't have a home base. So you're, while you're a nomad, you're going from place to place. So there's a tendency to in order to get these house sitting gigs, have to make plans well in advance. And that doesn't really tend to work, and it doesn't work for us because being the value seekers means that we put an effort into seeking value as opposed to doing things that intrinsically appear to give you value, which is what house sitting is. House sitting does give you value, no question about it. But when you try to incorporate it into a nomadic lifestyle, it actually backfires in many ways because you're making plans based on where you're going to be house sitting. Now you have to try to get an airfare deal, and it has to coincide with that time slot of the house sitting, and that's very complicated.
You're talking about commitments.
Making commitments, and then trying to do things well in advance kind of sets your itinerary in stone. And if there's if there's a hiccup in any of that pre-planned itinerary over the course of some people pre-schedule this stuff 3 to 6 months in advance. I've done this before, and I know that it absolutely does not work. In the long run, there's some kind of a hiccup somewhere, and then all of a sudden you end up wasting something you weren't able to take advantage of, like that train ticket you bought. Oops, the flight got canceled or something, or the house sitting didn't work out. So yeah, we spend a bit of time putting in an effort to seek out value in a specific way. Therefore, what we do is we seek that value and get that value, and we start looking for it a little bit in advance, but we usually don't make the plans. We're not booked up in advance.
Don't go more than 1 or 2 weeks in advance, usually.
About 2 weeks in advance is what we tend to book things like flights and Airbnbs or stays. So sometimes it's 2 to 3 weeks, but usually that's on the top end. It's pretty amazing that the cost of nomading, if it's done right, meaning I think that if you're flying, we are flying quite far. From Georgia to Bulgaria, you got to go across the Black Sea, and then to go to Europe. It's still, it's about as far as from maybe Colombia to Panama or Ecuador to Panama. But if we were doing it in South America, I could see our costs being much higher, especially in Panama. Our food costs would be much higher in Panama, and our airfare would be much higher unless we're coming from Costa Rica or neighboring countries. The way that we would minimize our cost and try to do it within this budget in South America would be to neighboring country hop, and that would mean Ecuador to Colombia, and then maybe Colombia to Panama, or then maybe Costa Rica to Panama, that kind of thing. Panama is the one wild card where we know in advance the expenses, whether it comes to rent and food, is higher. Now, we take the metro a lot, and we take very little taxis, so our transportation is the same in Panama, whether we're in Panama or Ecuador or Europe or Eastern Europe. It doesn't seem to matter. Our transportation is about the same. But where the variable costs really get out of hand is in Panama, on the rent and on the food. And those are the major expenses in life, are your lodging, your transportation, and your food. So your lodging and food. So, but as far as like Ecuador, I'm pretty confident we can stay in a pretty decent budget by maybe going to Colombia and
Peru,
and then to Ecuador, and then Peru, and then
even Argentina,
and then Chile. And I think from Chile to Argentina is the smart way to do it, because Chile's really narrow, and you could come over to West Argentina.
Exactly.
And that's another thing. You can also nomad within the country. You don't have to cross a border. You can go from one city, you can go to the next city.
Exactly.
So Chile's got a bunch of cities. But airfare, again, that's got a lot to do with how far you're going. We found that if we're just going short distances and we get the deals on the airfare can be pretty reasonable just about anywhere, especially around Europe, even Eastern Europe. South America's more spread out, but if you're not trying to go from Panama to Argentina, which there are deals, there were deals from sometimes
there's deals, but not when you want to go.
Yeah, so if you're going from neighboring country to neighboring country, or even within the country, like if you're going from Cuenca to Quito, you can get deals. If you're going from Quito to Colombia, you can find some deals. But if you're trying to go from Ecuador to Panama, the price seems to never go below a certain level. and it's, you know, and it's a pretty good chunk.
And when it does go below that certain level,
they
it's
sell
usually
out
at midnight and with a 5-hour layover
so I
somewhere.
mean, you might want to go from Ecuador to Colombia, and then
Batteries
from
going
Colombia to Panama, that kind of thing, and then you'll get a little bit lower fares. But that's for people that are traveling around. There's nothing wrong with traveling around. It gives you an opportunity to explore different areas and not make a commitment to one country that you really don't know, just based on what everyone else is telling you that has a vested interest and all this kind of stuff like that, you know. Okay, well, that wraps up, I think, pretty much everything about our nomadic expenses. How do they compare with what you're hearing on the internet and what you're seeing in the fire communities where people are traveling and being nomadic? I know that this is on the low end, but I want to stress to you that we in no way are lowering our standard of living. We are doing the very same, if not very similar values, and yet we're doing it for a lot less. So thanks for watching. We have a brand new Pro Travel, Pro Expat membership situation that you might want to explore in the links below, where you can get assistance in doing the kinds of things that we do. All right, so if you like the video, you know what to do, and also subscribe, click on the notification bell, and thanks again for watching one of our videos. Stay tuned for some very good videos coming up.